take this BTS photo, make it 3D through parallax scrolling, and then animate it. So although I'm using BTS for this, it can be used with any photograph, and basically the hardest bit about this is going to be the actual photoshopping. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take BTS and I'm going to copy, so Command C, Command V, and so then I've got the characters here. So characters, members of the team. So I'm fine with that because I'm just going to do it quickly. So now the next thing that I need to do is I need to erase the background. So with this background, there's a lot of detail here, but I don't really need it. So I'm going to take this background here, select the bit I want, Command C, Command V to copy. Then I've got a light here. So if I line that up close enough, and I'll have to do some little editing of it later, I'm then going to go Command T. I'm going to pull it out, and then I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to hold Shift and make that work. Okay, so the one thing that I should probably do now is move it up a little bit, use an eraser with a low hardness, and then run it along the top to try and get a blend. So not too much, not too low, to try and get a blend. So over here I can see that there's some definite color change, but that's okay, I can work with that. All right, so now I'm going to continue. So I am going to take this element from in here. Okay, so I want to get the one without any of the members where possible. Command C, Command V. Okay, Command T, pull that out, holding Shift again. And this is obviously not going to function quite as well as the other one because of the lighting problems, but I think I can make it work. So if I put this up here, then I can do a few things. I can either go into transform and try skewing. So skewing will let me then pull that in on my line. So I can go like that, I can go like that, and then I can pull the line down the bottom to where I want it to be. And keeping in mind that we're not actually going to see the layer down the bottom, so it doesn't really matter. So we can go and pull all of this out, pull it across, and then am I going to be able to pull down? No. Okay, so then when I hit enter, Command T to free transform later, I can pull down, holding down Shift again if I need to, pulling it out sideways. Okay, so if I hit enter now, I mean, it's not ideal, but keeping in mind that the characters are going to be on top of it, I don't really mind. So I'm doing this quickly. I'm going to merge these layers together, and then the last thing that I need to do is, actually I won't merge them just yet. The last thing I need to do, I'll turn these off, and then I'm going to go in and use the clone tool here. So the clone tool will sample areas around it. I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to start painting the characters out that I need. So it doesn't really sort of, okay, so what's happening here? I've got that area selected. So I want to have the whole area selected. So I just press Command A there, and I'm going to start painting in the characters. So you can take more time than me. I'm just kind of really going in and doing it nice and quick because the background doesn't really matter. So I'll go in, I'll take a bit here, and remember these are going to be covered. So if you make a mistake, Command Z, sampling with the Option key, and then going in next to it and just doing the purple. So now if we put in the background, I can see it's nearly there. I'm going to have the background selected here. I'm going to start painting it in. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. It doesn't look exactly like the original, but it looks pretty fine to me. So now I'm going to turn all those layers off, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to have to sort of erase the members, but in the background beside that's not BTS. So I can try doing that a few ways. The first and easiest way would be to use the quick selection tool, but it may not work with the layers with the image that I've got. So if I go in, nothing selected, quick selection tool, delete as I go. You can take your time doing this. You can use the magic wand tool. See, the problem comes when I get in like that. I don't like doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the magnetic lasso tool. Now you can make all of these characters separate, or you can do them all on different layers if you want, but I'm going to just go in and I'm going to delete them all. So I'm going to take some time to do that, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm doing this quickly now. I'll have a layer selected, Command-Shift-I to select the inverse, and then delete. And what it's going to leave me with is, if I do it properly, just the characters here cut out with no background. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see that like it's all over the place. So the longer you spend doing this actual photoshopping, the better. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take these layers. I'm going to merge these together. So the reason that I'm going to merge them together is so when they're in After Effects, they're in one layer. So I've got my background and I've got my characters. And from far away it looks okay. If you zoom in, you're going to notice there's some problems. So I saved this as a Photoshop file. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'll call it BTS1, whatever. Then I'm done with Photoshop for the moment. I go over to Adobe After Effects. So I'm going to do a new project. I'm going to go File, Import, File, and I'm going to find where the BTS image that I just made is, BTS, and I'm going to put it in as a composition, retain layer sizes. That's the import down here. So I open it up, and then I'm going to go, okay, to continue what I've got here. So now in BTS, I've got the size of my Photoshop file, so it's nice to have a big one. And I've got the layers, so layer 1 and layer 2. If I'd named them over in Photoshop, foreground and background, that might make it easier if you've got multiple layers. So first things first, down here you've got 3D layers. If you don't see it, you can toggle the switches and modes, or you can turn it all on with these buttons down here. So I'm going to do 3D for both of them. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up 2 views horizontal. I'm going to change this from a top view to custom view 1, and then I'm going to zoom in so I can see. So I can see right now I've got characters who are 3D. If I click on them, I can pull them out on the Z axis, and then they will kind of move around. And we've got 3D there, so that looks nice. So what I can do now is I can go into Layer, New, and put a camera in. So once I've got the camera, I can keyframe the movement of the camera. So if I go on it and I zoom in, it'll go that way, nice and simple. But if I, go around that way there, so we'll make sure that it stays on and all of that sort of stuff. So if I bring up the position and orientation of the camera, and I can also bring in sort of the X, Y, and Z rotation, the orientation, point of interest for focus, then over the course of 5 seconds, we kind of zoom in, we look up a little bit, maybe we rotate on, not the Z axis, but we'll rotate on maybe Y, or even X to try and make it look a bit more interesting. Then over time, the camera will zoom in, and we need to make sure that at all times we're not off. So usually what I like to do with the background is I like to scale it up a little bit, so that way it's going to show up on screen all the time. So you zoom back out, you're zooming around there, and what you'll see after a while is it starts to create a sort of 3D look. Now I'm looking in the resolution, but it'll go a little bit like that. The other last thing that you might want to do with a 3D layer is you might want to add in a light. So if you add in a spotlight and you put cast shadows, I'll put the shadow diffusion on a little bit, shadow darkness down a little bit, okay, cast shadows, and then you start to get sort of a really cool sort of professional look to it. I'll zoom out so they're on camera, and then the last thing I want to do is I want to go into my layers, material options, and go cast shadows on. And then what you'll get when you zoom in is the really cool look where they've got their background shadows in there. And then the further I move the layer out, the more the shadows interact with the lights. So you can then animate these to move them around, lots of things. Okay, cool.